The American justice system has become a topic of fascination worldwide, thanks in large part to an abundance of TV shows, movies, and sensationalized news. These depictions often claim to be rooted in truth, but frequently blur the line between reality and fiction. Here, we debunk 10 of the most pervasive myths about the American justice system and reveal the surprising truths behind them. 10. Myth. Prisoners are protected from forced labor. Many people believe that prisoners in the United States are shielded from forced labor due to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. However, this amendment has a crucial caveat. Forced labor is still permitted as a punishment for crime. This exception allows prisons to require inmates to work under conditions that are sometimes harsh and uncompensated or minimally paid. Prison labor varies widely, including manufacturing, farming, and even high-risk roles such as firefighting. Advocates for human rights have pointed out that this practice undermines the spirit of the 13th Amendment and have called for reforms to close this loophole. A few states, such as Colorado, have taken action to ban all forms of involuntary servitude. Despite these efforts, in many states, the practice continues, raising questions about ethical labor practices and prisoners' rights in the modern era. 9. Myth: police can't legally lie to you. One of the most enduring myths, fueled by crime dramas and popular lore, is that police officers must be truthful when interrogating a suspect. The belief often goes as far as thinking that if a suspect asks, "Are you a cop?" the officer must answer honestly. In reality, police are allowed to use deceptive tactics during interrogations. This can include lying about evidence, creating fictitious scenarios, or implying false promises to elicit a confession. The legal precedent for this type of conduct is well established. Courts have generally ruled that deceptive practices do not necessarily violate due process as long as they do not involve coercing a confession through force or threats. The only boundary police cannot cross is misrepresenting a suspect's fundamental rights, such as the right to remain silent or the right to legal representation. 8. Myth: the death penalty is cheaper than life imprisonment. The assumption that executing someone costs less than keeping them in prison for life is widespread but incorrect. This misconception stems from the perceived high cost of maintaining inmates, including their housing, food, medical care, and security. However, the death penalty involves an extensive and expensive legal process that makes it significantly more costly than life imprisonment. The process for death penalty cases requires two separate trials, one to determine guilt and another to decide on the death sentence itself. This is followed by a lengthy appeals process, which can last for years or even decades. The legal and procedural safeguards involved in capital punishment cases are essential for preventing wrongful executions, but contribute to high costs. Studies have consistently shown that death penalty cases are among the most expensive in the US legal system, debunking the myth that it's the cheaper option. Myth: you have the right to one phone call when arrested. Crime dramas often depict suspects using their single, precious phone call to contact friends or family in a moment of urgency. The reality is that there is no federally guaranteed right to a phone call after an arrest. The Constitution ensures that suspects have the right to legal counsel, but this does not explicitly include the right to a phone call. Instead, the number of calls, if any, is determined by local laws and practices, which vary significantly from one jurisdiction to another. Some police departments allow multiple phone calls or even the use of cell phones in certain circumstances, while others may limit or deny calls, particularly in serious cases. If an individual's rights are violated, such as being denied access to legal counsel, courts may suppress any evidence obtained during that time. However, the romanticized notion of a single phone call is more fiction than fact. Myth: police can tell if you're lying by your body language. The idea that law enforcement can detect lies by reading body language is perpetuated by countless TV shows where detectives instantly recognize guilt through subtle cues like fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or hesitation. In reality, research has shown that there are no universal physical signs of deception, and police are often no better than the average person at spotting lies. Over decades, studies have repeatedly demonstrated that humans, including trained law enforcement officers, have limited ability to accurately detect deception through body language alone. The only exception is the US Secret Service, which has shown a slightly better than average success rate, although even their results are not significantly higher. This myth is maintained by confirmation bias. People remember the few times they guessed correctly, but forget the instances when they were wrong. Myth criminal trials are common in the United States. Courtroom drama is a staple of American television, making trials appear to be the standard conclusion for criminal cases. However, more than 90% of criminal cases never go to trial. They are resolved through plea bargains, in which defendants agree to plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for reduced sentences. This trend is fueled by the high costs and lengthy timelines of trials, which can be taxing for both the prosecution and defense. For defendants, the risk of receiving a harsher sentence at trial often outweighs the potential benefits. As a result, plea bargains are the norm, not the exception. This practice has sparked debate over whether it compromises the right to a fair trial and pressures innocent people into accepting deals to avoid severe consequences. Myth. Violent crime is on the rise in the United States. The media frequently portrays a picture of escalating violence and crime in the US, contributing to widespread fear and political debates. However, FBI statistics and other crime reports reveal that violent crime has been on a general downward trend for decades. While murder rates saw a temporary increase during the COVID-19 pandemic, they have since dropped significantly. In 2023, both violent and property crimes were notably reduced, signaling a continuation of the long-term decline. The public perception of rising crime is often driven by media outlets focusing on sensational stories that attract attention, creating an impression of danger that is not reflected in the data. This myth underscores the powerful role that media coverage plays in shaping beliefs, even when contrary to empirical evidence. Myth: the insanity plea can keep you out of jail. In legal dramas, the insanity defense is often portrayed as a convenient loophole for criminals to escape punishment. The truth is that the insanity plea is not only rare, but also seldom successful. Fewer than 1% of defendants raise an insanity defense, and only about 25% of those are successful. Moreover, even if a defendant is found not guilty by reason of insanity, they are typically committed to a psychiatric institution, often for a period longer than a prison sentence for the same crime would have been. The reality is far removed from the pop culture trope of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Defendants who use this plea undergo rigorous psychological evaluations, and judges and juries are often skeptical, making it a high-risk strategy. Many people believe that if a police officer brings a drug-sniffing dog to a traffic stop, any alert from the dog automatically justifies a vehicle search. However, the legal reality is more nuanced. The US Supreme Court has ruled that police need probable cause to search a car, and the presence of a drug-sniffing dog alone does not establish that. Courts have scrutinized the reliability of these dogs, as they can be influenced by their handlers and may signal false positives. Recent changes in laws, such as the legalization of hemp and marijuana in various states, have added further complications. Hemp's similarity in smell to marijuana has led some courts to rule that the scent alone is insufficient for probable cause. These evolving legal interpretations make the use of drug-sniffing dogs less straightforward than it might appear. Lie detectors or polygraph tests are often depicted in TV shows and movies as nearly infallible truth-telling machines. In reality, polygraph tests are not reliable indicators of deception and are not admissible as evidence in most US courts. The tests measure physiological responses such as heart rate, blood pressure, and sweating, which can be affected by factors other than lying, such as nervousness or fear. The American Psychological Association has noted that polygraphs have a reliability rate only slightly better than chance. Despite this, they are sometimes used in pre-employment screenings and internal investigations. However, the general public's belief in the effectiveness of lie detectors persists, reinforcing a myth that has been debunked by science. Understanding the truth behind these myths is crucial for a well-informed perspective on the American legal system. While TV shows and movies may make for entertaining stories, they often oversimplify or distort real-world complexities. By separating fact from fiction, we can better appreciate the intricacies of the justice system and foster informed discussions that go beyond popular misconceptions. By the way, if there's any topic in this video that catches your eye, just comment down below and let me know if you want me to make a separate video on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Wow, you guys have made it till the end of the video. And remember, according to YouTube, the best way to help the channel in the algorithm is to watch another one of my videos right after this one. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks for sticking around. See you soon. Until then, peace.